Hi, I'm Steve Goddard, and I'm founder CEO of Pravana. On a personal side, I love music. I started out as a musician as I was learning hairdressing, and I just started college at LA City College. And at the start of the class, they had everybody stand up and say, "What do you do? And what do you want to be?" And so they went around the room, and some kid in the back of the room stood up, and this was 1970. And he said, well, I cut hair and I work 3 days a week and I make $500 a week, which affords me the ability to go to college and do some of the things I want to do. And I thought, $500 a week for working 3 days a week, combing women's hair? Where do I sign up? And I cornered the kid after class, and I was in beauty school the next week and fell in love with it, and met my wife there, and so beauty school was very good for me. And I had a great fortune of, my first job was with Redken Laboratories, and I stayed with them for 12 years. And one pivotal moment for me is when I was working at Redken Laboratories in the test salon as a stylist, and Leland Hirsch, who was a legendary stylist and who owned Artec, came to me at that time because he was a guest artist for Redken, and he was doing a presentation on hair color through the decades, and he asked me if I would, because he knew I had a band, would play rockabilly music while he did the hair color of the 50s when girls danced in poodle skirts. And I said, of course, I'd love to do that. I used to do all the executives at Redken. I do their hair, and I did Paula Kent Meehan's hair, and that night she was in the audience while I was up there playing, and she turned to the VP of sales and said, "Isn't that the guy who does my hair in the test salon?" And he said, "Yeah." I didn't know he could talk and sing and do that kind of stuff. Why don't we put him on the road? And next thing I knew, I was a platform artist for Redken doing the regional seminars in hair color. And from there, I got to go back into marketing, and yeah, had a great career with that. My role and what I'm passionate about has changed over the years. When I started the company 11 years ago, I was everything. I was the guy who made the promotions. I went out and did the sales meetings. I sold the product. I taught about the product. I went and did the videos. But over the course of the last 11 years, I've been able to bring on board people who can do that infinitely better than I do in any of those categories. And so now what I'm really is the coach of the team. When I thought about what Pravana would be, I wanted to do obviously things that would be done with a health conscious for the earth. So that's why all of our packaging is biodegradable. And then I also, because I've had a very great career for a long time in the beauty industry, wanted to give back. And so that's why we have instituted we give back 5% of all sales that we have on our hair care products to City of Hope. And to date, I think we've given over $500,000, and certainly within the function of the City of Hope Spirit of Life Award and that campaign, we raised another $1.2 million. So it's something we believe in and we think is vitally important. I've learned as much from the people that I didn't necessarily respect or agree with in their approach, because I can look back and say, I don't want to do it that way. But certain people stand out in my career where I directly emulated what they did and how they acted. And to this day, I will think about how they would have reacted. Paula Kent Meehan is definitely one of them. Certainly John Hammer is another guy who I look back and reflect on how he handled certain situations. So I think for any career, if you can watch and study someone who's been through the trenches and done it and does it with good style and grace, then that serves as a great template for yourself. And like I said, I continue to reflect on those times. Any industry, when people talk about how do I get into the movie industry, usually if somebody's savvy, they'll tell them to get a job in the mailroom. Because once you're in there, you start learning the machine. And I think that's true of our industry as well. If you ultimately want to work for a hair care corporation, get a job in there, whether it be a part-time educator or going into working in their test salon like I did, because they're so different. It's a different business working in a salon than it is working in a hair care company. So if that's your ambition and that you want to do, I would highly suggest finding a place in that organization, and then the cream will rise to the top. If you've got what it takes to become the VP of Marketing and Advertising, it'll happen. Establishing the importance of the team that you work with and supporting that team. And a lot of what we heard today in the program in terms of being a good coach for the team and letting people fail, encouraging people to fail and fail often. And I mean, we hear that from most any business advisor. And I guess that's because it's true. Support your team, allow them to fail, encourage them to fail. Don't squash ideas, and I think that's probably the best thing I've learned and have been taught over the years. Social media plays such an important role for us, and I think for our industry, for the professional beauty industry, because we are such a visual and what's new industry. You know, whether it's YouTube, Instagram, or Facebook, it's visually driven. The words are little bits and pieces to speak about the visual. So it all points back to that visual, and again, when we're talking about color, then that's even more exciting and important for us. Social media has become the way we communicate. It's the way we live. It's all invasive in our lives. And so I think that for any salon, it's vitally important as a communication tool, a selling tool, a PR tool, a communication tool to excite and engage customers.